Hi friends, I just wanted to pop on quickly before I got into the video tutorial just to say thank you so much for taking part in the Stamp with Tracy monthly classes. I have thoroughly enjoyed doing these for you and I really hope that you've enjoyed them as well. Each month is a different theme, as you can tell, but Whimsy and Wonder is this month and I'm super excited for these projects. We have 2 boxes or 2 3D projects. We have a fun fold card and then 2 more simpler cards. So there is a great variety of different products for you and I really hope that you're enjoying them. Okay, let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to the Whimsy and Wonder Stamp with Tracy class. I'm just showing you the projects that we'll be doing in this month's class. There are 2 beautiful cards as well as a fun fold card. There is a little treat holder that holds a mint patty, and yeah, mint patties are so nice. And also a box that can hold any treat or gift that you would like to give out at Christmas time as well. It's a really cute little box. So they're the 5 projects. I'm using the Heartfelt Wishes stamp set. Now, you could use another stamp set if you have a different one that you would like to use, but Heartfelt Wishes works really well. We have Polished Pink, Misty Moonlight, Mossy Meadow, and Blushing Bride for our inks. And I'm also using the Wintry 3D embossing folders and the layering circle dies. Now, if you're using the online version, you will have to have those products or substitute them for something else. But if you've purchased the Stamp with Tracy class, these come all with it in there. You also get the PDF with the full photos and dimensions. You're getting a quarter pack of that beautiful Whimsy and Wonder designer series paper and a full sheet of these beautiful, wonderful snowflakes. These are your class kits already in each individual package. Okay, so let's start with the first card. This is card number 1, and I'm just showing you on our PDF where you'll cut the designer series paper. So the kit is all ready to go. I have die cut that layering circle from the middle of your Mossy Meadow. This is a matting piece, so you're not going to notice that circle's missing. So our designer series paper, we're going to cut that at 5 5/8 by 3 7/8. And then we're also going to have that little strip of that silver, almost like a peppermint style designer series paper. That's going to measure 5 1/8 by 3/4. So in these kits, you're going to cut down your own designer series paper. So you can substitute for different paper, the different designs in your kit if you want. These are just guides, but yeah, you can change it to anything that you would like as well. So that's our second piece just there. This card will come together really, really quickly. So we have Mint Macaron as our card base. I'm going to layer the Mossy Meadow and our designer series paper together. Look at those gorgeous mint macaron trees, and the silver sparkle is really amazing. So we're going to add that to our card base, which is the mint macaron. We have the Mossy Meadows circle that we're going to layer down, straight down. So there's not a lot of pop-up on this one. And then we're going to grab out one of those snowflakes. Now, as you're getting those out, please be really careful. You don't want to, they're very delicate and you can break them. So just be very mindful as you're popping them out. But look at all that extra area around the snowflakes that you could punch or die cut other pieces for other cards. So we've got a strip of the basic white here. We're going to use the Mossy Meadow ink to stamp up the Merry Christmas stamp. Like I said, if you don't have the Heartfelt Wishes, you could use another sentiment stamp set for Christmas. That would work as well. You might just have to cut down your strips. So I'm actually in the video changing it up a little bit. That little strip of that designer series paper, I have scooted down a little bit more than I did on my sample. So what I did on my sample is I layered this to the bottom of the mint macaron. So it actually went up a little bit higher. In this video here, you can see I've popped it down a little bit. I don't recommend it because, as I'll show you in a minute, I have to cut down that mint macaron piece because it takes up too much of that snowflake. So if you don't mind that it takes up the snowflake, you could do that. You could also, another way of doing it is to cut your snowflake in half, and then that way you'll see it at the top and the bottom a little bit more. So it's, see how that mint macaron is too far up top? But if you cut down your snowflake in half and moved it above and below that sentiment piece, that would work as well. So I'm just cutting my mint macaron piece down. So there's a few different ways you could do it. You could please yourself. And we're going to add some dimensionals to the back of this and pop it straight down onto our card base. Now, if you are at home and you're doing the online version, I've used the 6th smallest of the layering circle dies on our Mossy Meadow backing piece. So if you're interested in what circle I actually used, it was the 6th smallest. So that is our first card. Super cute. I love the greens. The second card is the Misty Moonlight card. This is super cute as well. I love the designer series paper that I've chosen for this card. So I've used the wintry embossing folder. This is that 3D one on our basic white card. Has a really great effect. If you're doing it at home, I've actually just done the left hand side, so you'll see a strip of piece of basic white there that hasn't been embossed because it's a smaller embossing folder, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be covered up with that designer series paper. So I'm just layering that down onto the Misty Moonlight, and as you can see, it's scooted up to the right hand side and it leaves a border on the top, on the side, and on the bottom in the Misty Moonlight. So our designer series paper that we need to cut down for this card is 1 inch by 5 1/4, and also 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. So I'm using this beautiful Misty Moonlight with stars and Christmas trees. That one is going to be the 1 by 5 1/4, and then our little strip of the silver stripes, that is the 1/2 inch by 5 1/4. And that just gives a nice little detail on that right side of our card base. So we're doing an old card technique on this card as well, called tearing. I'm sure everyone's done it before, but it's one that comes in and out of fashion. And I haven't done it for a while, so I thought, why not with the wintry theme? I think the tearing of cardstock really looks great with wintry cards. And that's why I've done it with our sentiment here. So I've just layered the 2 designer series papers up against each other on the right hand side of our matting, and I've just used liquid adhesive for that. So we're using Misty Moonlight ink with the Happiest Holidays sentiment. We're just popping that down on the basic white strip that we have there. And I'm going to layer that on top of the Misty Moonlight cardstock, and this is the one that we're going to tear. So I'm just going to tear the very bottom. It tears quite easily. I don't know, I'm making this look hard. It's not that hard, but I'm sure you all will do it with no problems. So we're going to layer it up with some liquid adhesive on top. And then we're going to get out one of those beautiful, wonderful snowflakes. So once again, being very careful to tease that out of the die cut. We're going to end up with 2 left over at the end, so you're going to have some other snowflakes that you can create with other cards. So we've just layered that down with some liquid adhesive. I'm going to pop some dimensionals on the top, on the back of our sentiment piece, and there is our second card. Super cute, but how beautiful does that look? That is a real wow one. Now, on saying that, that does have to be layered onto our thick basic white cardstock, and I'm using dimensionals to pop that down as well. So there's plenty of layers. It is just gorgeous with the blue and silver and white together. Now, before, I've actually worked out how to get these backings off. I don't have any nails, so if you guys don't have nails, use your pokey tool. Either you take my pick tool or the old piercing tool if you still have one of those, and you can take the backings off really easily. So there's our second card. The next card that we're going to work on is our fun fold. This one is amazing, but it can get a little tricky, so make sure you watch this video before you start creating this card. So we need quite a bit of designer series paper cut up as well, and so here it is. So using this bauble one, we actually need 2 of these in both the bauble and that striped silver, and they're going to measure 5 3/8 by 3 5/8. And then we're going to need another strip of designer series paper, which I don't do to the very end, and that's just for the inside of our card, and that's going to measure 5 5/8 by 1/2 inch. So you'll see that at the end of the card. So there is a ton of die cutting with this one. Now if you do have the kit, you are going to need the layering circle dies, but you can use any die set that you would like. So if you have a label die, you could use that. Obviously it needs to be a fairly big die, so when you open it, that pop-up piece can be seen. So it's going to be big enough to put the snowflake inside. Okay, so I'm just layering our pieces down onto the basic white cardstock. So we actually have 3 pieces of that basic white cardstock in the kit. 2 of them will be layered with our designer series paper on the top, and the third one is for the inside of our card. So there we have it. Now we get to the tricky bit. So we've got to line up all 3 of these circles for the card, so we can actually open the card, because we're layering on that front piece of our card. Well, there's 5 sheets of card or paper in between. So I'm going to start off with the first one. I'm going to pop that in the middle. This one is let me see if I've got it written down. It's the largest circle die from that set. So I've just run that one through. And I think I have to run it through twice. No, okay. The next one I think I have to run through twice. So I'm layering this down over the top. You want to make sure that they are all lined up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this one back through. So we have 2 bits of designer series paper and 2 bits of cardstock in there. So it doesn't cut all the way through, but I can take that first layer off and then run that through again, being all lined up. And you probably even use a bit of washi tape or something to hold it down. You want to make sure that it's completely lined up. So this is the hold your breath moment to make sure that you do it all correctly. Okay, so we have our 2 pieces and they line up perfectly. We have our polished pink card base here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to layer this one over the top. And what you could do, because I try and make things look hard, is you could actually glue your front layer, which is the bauble piece, to the front of your card, just all the way around the edges. You don't want it on the middle, and then you could pop it down and then cut this piece out. This is the inside piece, but it all lines up anyway. So we're making sure we have a border all the way around. We're holding it in place, and we're cutting out that polished pink circle in the middle. See, I've brought out the washi tape because I was a little bit scared that I was going to make a mistake on this one, because if we don't have them lined up properly, all 3 pieces are not going to work together. So let's layer this one through. And it didn't cut through the whole way, I don't think, so what I have to do is pop it through again. But you want to make sure that you have a nice decent circle in the polished pink, because we are using that for the inside of the card. So let's just pop that one through. There we go. Being careful with that washi tape, and we'll be using that circle. Alright, so we're getting there. So I'm going to start layering our front piece and our inside piece together using liquid adhesive. And if we've cut them all right, it should go together really easily. So you want that nice little border around. And the liquid adhesive is really good because you can move it around, manipulate it to the right spot. So then we're going to stick the inside piece. And I think these colours, and it really increases the card. It really does make it look like a wow card. You could also add an extra layer if you used the second smallest die, and that way you could put a frame around those circles if you wish. So we have a piece here that is, let me have a look, 2 7/8 by 4 inches, and on the 4-inch side we're going to score at 1, 2 and 3 inches. This is going to make our little pop-up piece. And then our second piece there is 3/4 inch by 2 1/4 inch, and we're going to score at 1 1/4 inch. So we're just going to fold and burnish on all these lines, all these score lines. And we're right to start adding our pieces in. So we're going to have to start with putting our Whisper White piece in down into the card base. So a nice little border all the way around. And we're going to layer that bottom piece. So I'm going to add some glue to this piece. And I'm going to use tear and tape. I want something that's going to make sure that it sits there and stays there, because it is going to be moved around a little bit. So you could use stamping seal plus, or tear and tape. Liquid adhesive works as well. You just have to hang on to it to let it dry that little bit more. So just taking the backings off. And I'm layering it against that side of the card, but also in the middle of our circle, so we don't have any edges showing off the circle, if that makes sense. Going to add a little bit more tear and tape to the bottom here, and it's going to be right at the bottom because you don't want to be on the other side of that circle, because where that little rectangle is, you're going to see some of that circle through. There we go. So just folding the card, and that creates that little pop-up effect. Now our circle will go down on there, but to pop it down there and to make it flip, we're going to use that small piece of polished pink card, and we're going to layer the largest of the two pieces of the scored pieces. That's where we're going to put it down up against that circle. So I just want a little bit of tear and tape on that little piece, not, on the bigger piece, not on the little piece. Because once we open up, and I think I'll show you how it works. So that's going to go on top. But if it went on up against the circle, what would happen is it wouldn't open properly. I hope that makes sense. All you want to do is just make sure that it's on that piece. Okay. So we've folded that piece back, we've popped a little bit of tear and tape down, closed it up, and then we've been able to pop the circle down on top, and that creates, when you open it up, that creates that pop and twist fold. I'm not very good with my words, people, and I think you all probably know that, but yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. So we're stamping our sentiment here, and I've used the polished pink ink, and we have a little strip of mint macaron down over the top, and we're going to just cut the ends. I thought this adding the mint macaron in with it, because you can see that in that designer series paper, it just really popped it up a little bit more. So we're going to cut in. And I think like the circle, you could also run through the wintry embossing folders as well. That would look really good, but I've left it pretty plain. I'm letting the snowflakes speak for itself, sort of thing. Okay, so teasing those snowflakes out. We're going to pop a little bit of glue on the middle there. And you could stick the whole lot down if you want. I found just sticking the middle bit down was fine. And we're also going to stick some dimensionals down with our sentiment. This designer series paper is so beautiful. Okay, so there we have it. So now we just need that little strip. Now that little strip, like I said before, measures 5 5/8 by 1/2 inch. So I had to grab another piece of that designer series paper. And I'm going to do a quick cut at 1/2 inch by 5 5/8, and then we can stick that inside of the card. I don't know anyone that wouldn't love this card. This would be an absolute wow card for anyone at Christmas time. And I'm loving all the pastels with the polished pink, bit of pop to it. There we go. So there's card number 3. We're moving on to the treat item. This one here is the mint patty one. We're using mint macaron as well as mossy meadow and blushing bride. Beautiful frayed ribbon. So our designer series paper piece, it's going to measure 2 7/8 by 1 3/8. Plus we're going to use a little piece that we're going to fussy cut out. That is the little holly and berries there. So we're starting off with our mint macaron card base. This is 8 by 3 inches. We're going to score at 1 1/2, 2, 5 and 5 1/2. And then we have a strip that is 1 by 7 inches. And we're going to score that at 1 1/2, 2, 5 and 5 1/2 as well. And this is going to pop our little treat holder together. So we're just going to fold and burnish on all those score lines. This helps just to help pop it together really easily. We're going to pop this little piece that we've scored. It goes on the inside of our treat holder. So you don't really see it, but it holds that peppermint patty, mint patty in there really well. So a little piece of DSP, we're just going to pop down on that front flap. How gorgeous. I love this paper. Those little holly and berries are gorgeous. So we're going to take our inside piece and we're going to glue that down with some liquid adhesive. And I put it sort of in the middle, but I would try and scoot it down just a little bit further down the bottom. Completely up to you. Adding a little bit more glue on the inside pieces, and then we can fold and pop into position. So this just holds our treat inside. You could probably get away with not having it in there, but I don't know, my luck would be I'd be giving it to someone and the mint patty would be falling out everywhere. So this just holds it in. Now I believe the Yorkshire patties are the same size as mint patties, so it should work if you're overseas and you can get Yorkshire patties. So we're going to bring that blushing bride frayed ribbon in. This is gorgeous. This makes really great tassels with those frayed pieces. So if you want to make something like that. So I've just run some tear and tape around that center bit of the box, and we're going to add that ribbon to it as well. This holds it all down. Now one tip I'm going to give you here is not to line it so ends meet the ends, and I'll show you here at the end. We want to leave just a little bit on the left hand side, and we're going to be able to put our little circles over the top. So you'll see this in just a minute. So we have our 2 layering circles from the dies. This is the second smallest scallop and the smallest circle die in Basic White and Mossy Meadow. And we're just going to fussy cut one of those beautiful little holly and berries. I really loved using designer series paper to create little focal pieces. I think it gets to use up all your designer series paper, and B, they're beautiful, so why not use them? So our sentiment is This Wondrous Season, which I thought was a nice little sentiment to pop on a little treat holder, and we have a strip of Basic White for that one. So this is also our closure of our box. So you want to make sure that you can pop it there and it'll close up without any issues. So I just measured there. I've popped a few or 3 little dimensionals there, and we can pop our circles over the top. So we've got the Mossy Meadow ink. We're going to stamp our sentiment, and we're going to bend cut the end of this sentiment as well. You want to stamp your sentiment further up to the right, because it's sort of going to be stuck in underneath the circle part. That's how it's being attached. See, like that. Alrighty. My words are not working too well, guys, and I really apologise. You have to listen to me ramble. Okay, so I've taken the backings off. We've popped this down, and then we can stick our sentiment piece so it sort of sits up over our lid. There we go. And then I'm just going to glue a little fussy cut piece down as well. How beautiful does that frayed ribbon in the background look? Of course, you know there's lots of Blushing Bride in our designer series paper, and I love how the Mint Macaron, Mossy Meadow and Blushing Bride all work so well together. So the peppermint patty or mint patty fits in there perfectly. And there is our little treat box and our 4th tutorial. Number 5. Number 5 is our box. And this is a Blushing Bride box. I loved this paper. This is actually the first project that I made because I just had to use this Blushing Bride snowflake paper. So we're going to cut this one down to 3 and 9/16 by 3 and 9/16. So they're those little tiny tick marks in your score blade, and we're going to score them at 1 inch on all 4 sides. Our Blushing Bride piece of cardstock is 6.5 by 5 3/4, and we're going to score on the 6.5 inch side at 1.5, 3, 4.5 and 6 inches. And then we're going to turn it over to the 5 3/4 side and score at 1.5 inches. This is going to be our base of our box. Okay, so we're going to fold and score on all our score lines here. Now with your designer series paper, unless it's really thick designer series paper, I recommend just using your fingers. Sometimes the bone folder can rip and tear your designer series paper. So we're cutting up those score lines and notching in on the 2 corners on either end, or the 4 corners, and that's going to make a really easy box to put together. Moving on to our box, that bottom rectangle there, we're going to take that off completely, and this side piece is our tab, so we've cut up onto an angle there as well. And we're just going to cut up to that first score line on all 4 corners there. So we're going to run a piece of tear and tape down the side here and pop our box together. And then once we work out by popping that box together, we can work out where the backing of our box is. And this is always really important when you're putting the bottom of your box together, knowing where your back is, because you don't want to have that closure on the front of your box. So I'm looking, there's the back of the box, which means this one at the front is going to be our last closure, and it just makes the box look more together. So I'm just using liquid adhesive to pop it down, and yeah, using the bone folder to secure that bottom piece to make sure that it's glued well. And because this is a fairly strong glue, you'll be able to put a fair few things in there without having to worry about your box falling apart. So I'm going to bring in some tear and tape and just add a few little strips on each of those 4 tabs, and our box just goes together really simply, taking the backings off and lining our edges up. You could get away with liquid adhesive, but because this is specialty paper, there is like that foiling. I find it's just easier to use my tear and tape, but you can use whatever adhesive you feel comfortable using. So as we take the backings off, we do have the sentiment to stamp, as well as popping that beautiful ribbon around the box as well. So we're just lining up those edges, pushing down. This is just a very basic box. So cute. Okay. Let's do our sentiment piece in Blushing Bride ink. And this is Heartfelt Wishes. This is the one we're using on this sentiment. I'm also going to layer it on our Blushing Bride cardstock and 𝐵𝒐𝒏𝒕𝒉 the ends. So I'm using dimensionals on both pieces as well. So layering in the center. Now there's a nice little border all the way around, which I thought was really pretty. So just going to do a very quick 𝐵𝒐𝒏𝒕𝒉 on the ends. Now the snowflakes do go off the side of the box, and I think that looks really pretty, but you are going to have to be careful making sure that you don't bend the snowflakes. So like I said, you're going to end up with 2 snowflakes at the end that you can create with anything else. So before I put the snowflakes on, roll your ribbon around, and we're just going to tie a knot in the front of the box. And this was so easy to do. This ribbon is really beautiful and works really well without too much bulk. So we can pop our snowflake down. I'm going to add dimensionals to the back of my sentiment here. No, I'm not. I'm using okay, I'm using tear and tape. I thought I popped it up as well. Must have just thought about it. There we go. So that's our 5th and final project for this month's Stamp with Tracy class. I hope you've enjoyed the Whimsy and Wonder September Stamp with Tracy. I'll be back with another one next month for October, and I hope you'll come back and join me for that one as well. I'm going to bring in all 5 projects again. I would love to hear any suggestions, any comments, whether you're enjoying it, if there's anything I could change. And yeah, just let me know, because I'd love to work with you guys in what you would like to do. Alright everyone, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all really soon. Bye bye.